Hey everybody, wanted to make a quick video today about belief because the other day I made a video about miracles and whatnot. And I want to talk about belief in this way. There are two types of belief. There's the belief that comes from the ego mind, and there's the belief that comes from the heart. There is a difference because, let's use a miracle thing. Let's use a sports analogy. When the underdog says, we beat the favorites, we beat them because we believed in ourselves. We believed. Well, obviously they won, so if they won, they must have believed with their hearts. But if they just kept saying, we believe in ourselves, we believe, regardless of the results of the game, if they just say it but they don't feel it in their heart, then that's just an ego mind belief, because that's what they want. That's the result that they want, but they don't necessarily feel they're going to get it. But to cover it up, they'll say, and they don't even realize they're doing it because we all do it. I believe, we believe. Okay? You have to believe with your heart, not your mind. You have to believe with your heart. Another thing that people confuse belief with is knowing. Knowing is a step above that. And it's funny because I mentioned hope before. Hope is a good thing in its own right, but again, it has its place. And sometimes it's not effective because even though it gives us something to hold on to during desperate times, a lot of times, the old saying, Dr. Joe Dispenza said this before, hope is a beggar. Hope is a beggar. Hope is not even believing that something's true. Just hoping that it is. Almost out of desperation. But belief that's coming from the ego mind is not effective. It's got to come from the heart. It's got to be a feeling. It can't be cerebral. It's got to be a feeling you have. I believe with all my heart and soul, like they say. But are those just words, or do you really believe it? Are you saying you believe it because that's the result you want? Are you saying you believe it because you really do with your heart? You know what I mean? You could say you believe all you want. But a lot of times, based on your environment, what you're being surrounded with, that has a big effect. There's even been documented cases, I hate to bring up the medical stuff, but people who have had really serious illnesses, they're very picky about who they surrounded themselves with during their process. And they were very careful to not let negative people in the room, right? They don't want people that are going to give them statistics. They don't want people who are going to make it sound like they have an uphill battle to climb, an uphill battle ahead of them, a mountain to climb. They want people who truly believe in their healing. And that made all the difference in many, many, many cases. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it's funny, the people that are negative, quote unquote, a lot of times in whatever scenario, whether it's medical or financial or just whatever, those people are still pretty well-meaning. They're not malicious when they're negative. They're just doing it. They're just that way because they're looking out for us, But they don't realize, they're so unconscious with it that they don't realize the harm that they're actually doing, You need this, you need that. You got to do this, you got to do that. We're all on our own journey. You can't speak for other people. We're all on our own journeys. So when it comes to believing something, and I mentioned Anita Moorjani before. She made a video once about how beliefs shape your truth. And it's funny because she posted something one time on Facebook, and the majority were very positive about it and understood it. But you had one or two people who said, I knew people who believed, and they still didn't get the result they wanted. And I'm not going to get into that, but you know what I mean. And you got to understand the belief she was talking about was not mental belief. or not just saying I believe. Now, I'm not saying that. I can't speak for those people that were being referred to there. All I know is that's why the word belief is kind of a misleading word. To me, it's more about knowing and feeling. You could think positive all day, but if you're not feeling it, it's useless. It's useless. You could say affirmations verbally all day long, but if you're not starting to, and for a while there you have to, like fake it till you make it kind of thing. But after a while, if you're not feeling those affirmations or telling the universe in your own way that, I have it already, then it's not going to, it's not going to come to fruition in the 3D realm. It's not. Again, and here's the thing. For people who believe something, regardless of what it is, and they don't get the result that they said they believed in, they're not to blame. No one's to blame here. We're all on our own journeys. You know what I mean? And a lot of times the universe is looking out for us, okay? The universe is always looking out for us. Let me rephrase that. It's always looking out for us. Sometimes it's a lot harder to see, but it always is. It always is. So without talking in too many circles here, I guess what I'm trying to say is there's two types of belief. The belief that comes from the ego mind and the belief that comes from the heart, okay? The belief that's coming from the heart is feeling it, knowing it. You know what I mean? Knowing it in here. If you truly know something, it's funny because we associate the brain with knowing, right? Or the mind with knowing. Guess what? True knowing does not come from the mind. It comes from the heart. And of course, when I say heart and mind, I'm not talking about the physical brain and the physical heart. I'm talking about, the true heart and mind that are in the part of the soul. You know what I mean? But the mind part is really an ego thing. The heart is what the true soul is. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So even though we associate the brain or the mind with knowing, and I know I keep doing this, but you know what I mean. Thinking it is one thing. That's ego mind. Okay? But this is where the true positive feeling and thinking is, and knowing. It's here. In the heart, the soul's heart, you know what I mean? That's where knowing really is. It's not in here. I'm still going to use this for lack of a better, just for this topic, to give you a visual. It's not about this, it's about this. Okay? And what's funny is I do want to say something, and I don't want to get too much into this because I think this would be better for another video, but I will say this. The old saying that says, it's good to have your heart, but take your brain with you, or take your mind, like that. Because you don't want to get your heart broken. Make sure you think yourself. Make sure you think before you act with your heart, right? Even that's coming from an ego place. Because if you truly... Here's the thing. You may think you love somebody, right? Or want to be with somebody. And you think it's the heart, but it's really the ego mind. It's really the ego mind. You know it's the heart when this and this are in sync. When this and this are in sync. You know what I'm saying? So that's something else we could talk about in the future. But again, belief is so misconstrued. Your truth comes from here. True belief, which is really knowing, comes from here. The belief that comes from here, again, just for visual sake, is coming from the ego mind. Sometimes they're in sync, don't get me wrong. Sometimes they're in sync. But a lot of times they're not. So, again, just something to keep in mind. We get those words so misconstrued, and then we say, well, this person said they believed, and this person was a very positive thinker, but they didn't get what they wanted, whatever that is. Yeah, but you're totally not getting it. And why are you arguing it? What, you're just trying to play devil's advocate? You know what I mean? So, I hope that makes sense. But yeah, true belief, which is knowing, comes from here. All right? See you later.